And welcome to another episode of the Bandit Room. My name is Charles. I'm joined here in the studio today by Mr. Caleb.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. Aggie is out this week. He is traveling. But across the table from us, we have our guest for this episode, Mr. Lucas McFadden. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, of course. So this is a great setup, and any chance I can have to talk, you know where to find me.
Well, you're not used to being on the other side of these tables. You are the anchor and producer of CN2 News, the co-host of Palmetto Mornings on WRHI. So you spend your whole life doing this.
I have 22 years.
22 years.
I graduated college in 2001.
You haven't aged a day.
Thank you.
I'm concerned you have the ring of power or something like that.
Well, they always say don't tell your age in media because they want people to have non-biased opinion of how you are. But
Sure.
I live my life out there. So I tell folks I'm 43.
Yeah.
But anyway, so graduated college in 2001 and was hired right then and there by CN2. Actually started the year before while I was in college as an intern in 2000.
Okay.
The summer of 2000 before my senior year. So I've worked in media since I graduated from college.
Wow. Fantastic.
It's the only thing I know.
So introduce yourself to our listeners here. So give us a little bit more backstory. Where are you from? Where did you grow up? And how'd you get started in the broadcasting business?
Sure. Well, I'm Lucas McFadden. I am from Fort Lawn, South Carolina in Chester County. It was not a one-stop light town when I lived there. It is now a one-stop light town. So I can proudly say I was there when they put in the first stoplight.
Moving on up.
That's
Wow.
right. So we live on our family's farm. So my granddad, it's his farmland. So my dad is the middle child. He's got an older brother and a younger sister. So we all have property out there on the land, compound, that's what we call it. After watching Yellowstone, I think we're more like the Duttons now that I think about it. But I had a really great childhood, very close to my mom and my dad, strong family unit, my brother as well. Lived outside, playing in the creek, having a lot of fun. It was in about third or fourth grade, my dad got a VHS camcorder, the big ones
That hold the whole tape in it?
Yes,
With the whole tape?
the VHS tape in
man.
it, and it was so big and so heavy. But he brought that out, and we started recording everything we did as a family, and got very comfortable real quick in front of the camera.
Nice.
Before we had to do presentations like in school, he would set it up on a tripod. We would give the presentation. I would put the VHS in the TV and then
the
go back
VCR.
and kind of critique it. Like, okay, I need to do this different. I need to maybe try this. So it was really interesting to be able to have that immediate feedback. I think our family overall, we never meet a stranger. We really enjoy talking to people, getting to know people's story. So in third grade, I didn't know I wanted to be a TV news anchor, but I found television fascinating. So with, just some watching the local news here and before CN2 and in addition to the radio, you've got all your news from Charlotte. So watched all the Charlotte anchors, TV anchors, and was thinking, boy, this is a great career. You get to meet people, tell their story, and have some fun. So it was pretty much a slam dunk at a young age. So like in high school, I did our morning newscasts. Had a pretty good following, went from just one day a week doing it to then 2 days a week, and then went to USC Lancaster to help pay some college bills.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't as expensive as going immediately to a four-year school, and went to the College of Charleston.
Okay, nice.
Got my undergrad from there. While there, when I was home for the summers, I reached out to CN2 to see if they had any job opportunities, figuring they would take more of a chance on me than the legacy channels would in Charlotte.
Gotcha.
And it worked. So they said, we don't have anything in the news department, but we have stuff in production. After our salespeople sell the ads, you go meet with the client and write up a story, a script, and they would shoot it. And I would say, oh, this is great, because I got to interview them, write up a script, think of the video. So I did that for 3 months, finished my senior year in Charleston, interned a whole year at the NBC affiliate down there, WCBD. And then when I graduated with a degree in hand, I walked into the news director's office and said, I'm not going to leave here until I have a job. And so they said yes.
Okay.
And I spent 2003 years, 2001 to 2004 at CN2 as a general assignment reporter, fill-in anchor, everything else in between. And then 2004, I went to go work for WIS, which is the NBC affiliate in Columbia, South Carolina. Okay. It's called a legacy station. Obviously, it only has 3 call letters, so it's one of the original frequencies. But in terms of legacy for NBC affiliates across the country, it's one of the top 10.
Oh, wow.
So I worked with anchors that I watched when I was in elementary school and middle school, and I just loved it. So a lot of people in our industry want to work in big TV markets like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago.
Yeah.
I just remember in my interview saying, like, this is my big market. Like, this is my home state, my home station. And so I felt very blessed. So spent 4 great years there and came back here in 2008 to CN2 as anchor and been here ever since.
Wow. All right. So about 15 years-ish in Rock Hill?
Back again, yeah. So 22 years overall, 18 years at CN2 during 2 tours of duty.
Gotcha.
One is still continuing,
ongoing,
and then 4 years at WIS. So I just call that like it was like going off to college again.
Yeah. So you just tototally committed to Rock Hill?
At this point, right.
At this point.
I knew once I got into the industry, I wanted to. Once I got married and had a kid, I wanted to settle down in a community because I feel like, this is just Lucas McFadden's opinion, you can make more of an impact in a community when you live there. You know the players, you know the landscape, you know who to call when this happens, versus a typical contract in our line of work can be anywhere from 2, 3, 5, or 7 years.
Right.
You know, and you're bouncing around. You might see many cities in the country, but by the time you understand what's going on, your contract is up. Either you want to stay there and they don't want you there, or you want to stay there and they say we don't want you. So they kind of determine a lot of your future, and I wanted to control more of my future than I wanted a consultant or an agent to control my future.
Yeah, and you're from the area and you put down roots here, so it makes sense. You'd say you're satisfied with your decision.
Oh, totally, 100%. I love it. My mom's from Rock Hill. My dad, again, we live in Fort Lawn. So my family's been able to watch me my entire career. I was born in York County.
Yeah.
Obviously raised in Chester County, went to high school in South Carolina, college in South Carolina, and all of my jobs have been in South Carolina.
Gotcha.
So it's the only state I know, but I'm very proud. I'm a very proud South Carolinian.
Wonderful.
A good sandlapper.
As are we. At the Bandit Room. Now you're also on the radio. You're doing WRHI as well, Palmetto Mornings. When did you get into that?
So that came together about 6 years ago.
Okay.
So around this time, 6 years ago.
Didn't have enough to do.
Yeah, exactly.
You weren't getting up early enough.
That's right. I am an early riser. When I worked at WIS in Columbia, I was asked in my interview, would I be okay to work the early morning shift?
Yeah.
Which got up around 2 o'clock in the morning, and I said, absolutely. So I'm a morning person. I think growing up on a farm, you have to get up early.
Okay.
And so I get more of my energy first thing in the morning.
Part rooster.
Yeah, I like that. I'm definitely a once the alarm clock goes off kind of guy. I don't hit snooze many times, like at all. So anyway, it was a natural progression because I did that shift for 4 years early in the morning, waking up at 2, getting to work and working till about noon. So I'm already up early already to exercise. That's a big part of keeping my sanity and just overall happiness. Yeah. But I just would fill in every now and then an opportunity came up and they said, hey, would you like this full time? And I was like, oh, I've never thought of it. There are a lot of similarities between television and radio. I don't know if people would make that connection, but there are a lot of similarities. And the fact I had the TV morning background of how morning television operates. Same thing with radio. It's fast paced. Right. You got news breaks first thing in the morning. It's also it's a piece of comfort for people as they're getting their day ready to have the same voice, whether it's on television or radio. So you don't see a ton of turnover, hopefully, first thing in the morning because people set their routines by what they see in the mornings more than any other part in their day. But it's been a great fit. I told him, I said, let's just try it for the summer. 6 years later, I think it went very well.
Nice.
But they're two locally owned companies.
Yeah.
CN2 is a division of Comporium, locally owned. WRHI, locally owned by Alan Miller and Manning Kimmel.
Right.
We're not governed by each other, but we complement each other very well. In fact, CN2 is now located upstairs at the broadcast house at WRHI.
Oh, gotcha.
So my commute is very short. From my house to the radio station is less than 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And then after the radio, I just walk up a flight of stairs and there you go.
Nice.
But it's been a nice partnership between the two media outlets, and it truly is now a broadcast house.
Gotcha. That's awesome. I was wondering where y'all were shooting now, because they tore down your old studio, right?
They did.
CN2. So what's going on there? Are they going to build something else?
We've always been told that's just more room for economic development downtown, which is fine. That was an old bank building.
Yeah.
We loved it. You never look a gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah.
And they were happy to give us that building many years ago. CN2 is only 30 years old, so we're very young compared to our media competition out there that's been around for 75 plus years, some 100 years. So, but that was an old bank building. It was starting to show its age a little bit. So when it was being torn down, I got some pictures and video.
Yeah.
And I remember my daughter saying, "Were you sad?" And I'm like, "I'm really not that sad."
Right.
Because it's really just a building.
Yeah.
Our jobs are it's so transient. Like I could work right here on this table and do a newscast.
Right.
I just needed the building to record, so to speak. So, but it was it was. I got memories of it, and that's where I started my TV career.
Sure.
But in the new space, we've got more technology.
Yeah.
We produce against a green screen. It gives us more tools to help us with our storytelling. So that part I appreciate, and that the fact that the company still sees our value and invests money in new equipment is really nice at a time where most stations, radio or television, and even newspaper, they cut back on everything. Our folks at CN2 and at WRHI see the value and continue to give us the tools that we need to do our job effectively.
That's fantastic.
It's really good.
Talk a little bit about your morning routine. We're recording this episode earlier than we typically do.
I'm sorry.
You had some scheduling conflicts. No, it's fine. But we were just talking about we need some coffee or something like that, and you were saying you don't drink coffee.
I do not drink
for a
coffee.
Morning show. And when do you start your day?
So my alarm goes off at 4:30 in the morning. I get up and go to my fitness routine, wherever that is. So I have a vast portfolio of what I do, different things, different days. So I do that from about 5 o'clock in the morning till about 5:45, 5:50. Come home, shower, get dressed in a suit. Now people say, why do you get dressed in a suit if you're on the radio?
Going to the radio.
So you can certainly listen to us, but we're also on Facebook Live and Comporium Cable Channel 103.
Right.
And the folks at the radio station say this is a professional environment. And it's very true. So, most folks in radio wear T-shirts and jeans, but it's just very professional. So
back in the day, where they would dress up, wouldn't they?
You would. That's right. Remember, you used to dress up for a flight.
Yeah.
And when you see people wearing a suit and a dress compared to what you see now, pajamas, and even that sometimes. So that goes on. So I get to work by 6:30. Hit the ground running immediately. So we're on the air by 6:40. So I have about 10 minutes to kind of prep. I'm already thinking in my head what we're going to talk about, what we're going to kind of do. We kind of produce the radio show in the moment. We don't have a said producer just because of the schedules that everyone will keep. So I do that until 9 o'clock in the morning. Then at 9 o'clock in the morning, I switch and go upstairs to CN2 and do that all day until we record our newscasts. We record live, so we're not live, but it's very similar to like what Inside Edition, Entertainment Tonight, parts of Sports Center on ESPN. When we watch some of those programs, they were recorded about 30 minutes in advance. Like the nightly news that we watch, ABC, NBC, CBS, they can't do those live because if they do, people in California are watching it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So they some of those still might be live and taped to live. So we treat it as live. Unless we make a huge blunder, we say, okay, let's do that again. But for the most part, we push through.
Nice.
And then I usually get home between 6 and 6:30, have family time, and then actually answer some more emails, prepare for the next day, and that's what it's like every single day.
Nice.
And that's also a calm night if I don't if my daughter doesn't have a sporting event, or if I'm not emceeing or asking to be part of a community event, which is a big part of our of my job.
Yeah,
too,
I
as
suppose
well.
you've got a lot going on right now with Come See Me going on. So describe your obligations when you've got something like that. Around here, it's kind of like the big thing. There's Come See Me, and then there's Christmasville. I mean, sort of the two big anchors of our community.
Very, very true. So I'm a team leader for a Come See Me event. So this is my 11th year doing Broadway night with Ashley Lang. So Jane Hayes, Mother Goose, Miss Rock Hill herself, had the event. And so after the 50th anniversary, she gave me and Ashley the binder, a very thick binder for the event, and said, here you go. And I said, we were looking for an event to get involved in. And I guess when opportunity knocks, you open up the binder. So we've been doing that event for 11 years now. So we have auditions, people audition, they have to sing a Broadway show, and then we have to say yes and no. I don't like telling people no. I really don't. Yeah. I also don't like the word no, just in general, given my lot of work.
Right.
But we do have to keep the show at a certain amount. So anyway, we cast the show, stack it, and then it's part of Come See Me. So I do that. I'm also now involved with the Christmasville Festival. In addition to, a lot of people ask me to MC a ton of events, which I'm happy to do so. Sometimes I say. Again, I don't like to say the word no, but sometimes I do have to take a break. It's a juggernaut, to be on all the time.
Right.
And I can see why celebrities, especially when we do see them out and about, and they might have a bad day or they flip out or they just don't look their greatest. I always say, I somewhat can relate to them because when you're on all the time. I mean, there are some days I leave my house at 4:30 and I don't get home until 10 o'clock at night. And then have to do it all over again the next day. So I get my energy off of other people, but at a certain point, it is draining.
Well, and it's for you, it's not just like a regular job. You're also, you're performing in a sense.
It's exactly what it is.
I don't mean like, you're real. You're a real person and you're portraying yourself. But, I think of it from my theater background. It's you're using your broadcasting voice and you're performing that role all day.
It's very true. Making small talk. I love making small talk, but sometimes even people who are animated and talkative need to have some quiet time. So it's a lot. I'm biting off more than I can chew. I look at it as a gift from God. God gave me these talents and skills, and if I can help a nonprofit or school raise more money because I've got that expertise to bring to the table, why would I deny someone that? So if I've ever had to tell anyone no, please know that it's just because I am just on empty.
Truly overwhelmed.
I've told before, I've told my wife, I said, I might have to check into a spa in quotations as the celebrities do. Just issue a statement that I have entered into a spa for exhaustion.
Disappear for a month. We'll know what's going on.
A sabbatical.
Well, and that's if you're not running a 5K or marathon or something as well. Right, because you're doing a lot of that sort of thing as well.
I do run a lot, so it's interesting. I was a late developer in every part of life, from maturing and when it comes to being an athlete. So at Louisville High School, we only had like the basic sports: football, baseball, basketball, and track for guys and for girls. Now they have soccer and lacrosse and all these other sports, which I'm so glad that they do. So I'm not built like a football player, despite what you might see. I don't have the skills for basketball. Baseball I love, but I just never really caught on. But I did like to run. So I ran track since the 8th grade, never won a single race. Sometimes in a week you would have 3 or 4 track meets. I either finished dead last or next to last, and I've got the receipts to prove it because my dad recorded all of my track meets
on the old VHS.
On the VHS, But from there I learned how to hold my hands and you just critique yourself. But I won a race, even placed in a race, again, either last or next to last. But I kept doing it. I thought it was great exercise. And I just looked at it even at a young age, you can't, you're not going to be successful in every part of your life. But I still kept running and still kept exercising. And now for most races, I either finish first in my age group or in the top 10 overall.
Nice.
But, it's nice. And I do have the medals and the bibs like on a wall in my man cave.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it's just more personal, just to tell my 8th grade self, my 9th grade self, like, you stayed with it and you were able to accomplish something when most people would have just given up then and there. If they, if you finish dead last in every race for 5 years. But it prepared me, because when you're trying to get a job in television,
sure,
it's not easy. It is extremely competitive. And when I was in college, I had 60 TV stations that I sent 60 resume tapes to. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of VHS tapes. Yeah. It's not like it is now, where you can send them a YouTube link of your work.
Right.
So I had to edit it, then transfer it on these VHS tapes. I befriended every postal worker in Charleston County at the time, but I was told no 59 times. Sure. After a while, people would just say, okay, maybe the man upstairs is telling me to try something else. But so I stayed with it, and then someone said yes, and it's nice. I appreciate CN2 for taking that chance, but it's prolonged me into a very successful TV career, where we have won, an Emmy award. Yeah. So an Emmy award winner, which, Emmys are given out to folks at the local TV level throughout the country. So that's great. There are people that work their entire lives that never get nominated. We've been nominated twice and won once. And then on the radio side, we've been named the best radio station in the state of South Carolina, as well as the best talk show in the state of South Carolina. There's like 200-something radio stations. So, patience... It does pay to be patient, and I'm a firm believer. Like, when it's your time, and just put in the hard work, and it will pay off in the long run.
And a couple of broadcasting related questions.
Sure.
I assume Lucas McFadden is your real name.
That is
the
real name.
You did not create that for television or anything like that?
No. In fact, that's a good question, though. I do get asked that every now and then. When I worked at WIS, the marketing team said they liked my name because it's got a great flow when you say the name, like Lucas McFadden. So it's the right amount of syllables. And when you write the name, when they bring up we call them supers, SUPERS, but that's where they put your name at the bottom of the screen. Lucas fits perfectly in between McFadden.
Gotcha.
They say McFadden at the marketing teams have said it's a strong name, so they like that. But if I ever had to change my name, I was going to be Luke Lucas.
Okay, I was going to say. Okay.
Luke Lucas reporting live on the scene. That's pretty good as well. But so I'm fortunate. Lucas McFadden is my God-given name, and it's my broadcasting name. But a lot of people in our industry do go by other names.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like with I think of with weathermen. Sometimes they'll change it to something weather-related or something like that. So,
right.
Have you given thought to what your weatherman name would be?
Oh man, no. Oh my gosh.
Did you ever want to be in that kind of
I think
field?
So, because that's also part of, I think my personality is a little bit more that than it would be to do a 3-part investigative reporting. That's just not my MO. There are folks that are fantastic in our industry that do that, and I love that they do that. But it's just not what I am drawn to.
Yeah, and why? So for someone who's uninitiated into something like that, how is that different, like investigative reporting versus...
It's a great question. So at most TV stations, radio stations, you have a general assignment reporter. You have to do it all. You do health stories, education stories, government stories, crime stories. Whatever they throw at you, you should be able to bob and weave. In some TV stations, if they have a lot of staff, they'll have beats. You'll have like an education reporter, a government reporter, a law enforcement reporter. And those reporters just stay on that beat all the time. They make connections. They get sources. That's helpful. And they're usually on TV stations. The I team is very common. Those folks just work around the clock, digging into records, pulling stats. More power to you. I was never that kind of student in school. I did not like research papers. I like holding people accountable. That's what we need to do in our line of work. But I think personally, there are other ways to hold them accountable other than bombarding them as they're walking out of a city council meeting. But I can relate to them if you have sent multiple emails, made multiple phone calls, tried every way to get in touch with them, and they don't return your phone call at all. After that point, I've been to that point before where I've had to kind of like say, hey, I've contacted you on every means necessary. sorry, I'm having to do this now, but this is the only way to do so.
Right. Yeah, which is very different from a weatherman.
Yes, exactly. Totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but also I do find weather interesting, but it just wasn't as common. You have to usually go to school 2 extra years post your undergrad, but I wish I would have. Now at the College of Charleston, they have a meteorology degree. Yeah. And shoulda, woulda, coulda all day long. But I guess I would have something with the name Thunder. in my or wind, since I move
Lucas
fast.
McThunder.
Oh, look, McThunder is great.
There you go.
Oh, that's great. Okay, there you go. So if I have a second career and it's Lucas McThunder, I'll give you the residuals.
Cool. We just want credit.
Yeah.
Just mention us. Now, this is a silly reference.
That's okay.
But one a movie that I enjoy quite a lot is Anchorman.
Totally agree with you.
So do you enjoy that movie?
Yes.
Do you,
yeah, very true to life.
Did you relate to that as a young journalist watching Anchorman come out?
And I still relate to it today. Yes, I've got a nice big poster of the Anchorman movie poster in my man cave for sure. It's pretty spot on.
Yeah.
I think most movies that depict the world of broadcasting, TV news specifically, I think for the most part they're pretty spot on.
Yeah.
I think Anchorman is spot on. There are people that will read everything in a prompter, including there are certain cues in a prompter that are just meant for the studio folks to understand.
Yeah.
And there have been times that I've read through those when you're brand new. So I can relate to that. Yeah. We're not, I say most people are not as shallow as Ron Burgundy, but I've worked with some that are definitely like it. So I can relate to it. I think the biggest misconception is people think we have a hair and makeup team. You have that in like New York, Los Angeles, Good Morning America, MSNBC, CNN, The Today Show, Fox News. Those folks have hair and makeup folks. No one is coming to do my hair or makeup in rural South Carolina at 3 o'clock in the morning when we're covering a shooting. What you see is what you get for the most part. But I do like it. I think it's funny. I think it is relatable in terms of, at the end they were trying to get the big story, and that's very relatable because people are competing. You're not only competing against people you work with, you're competing against everyone else. And I've seen when I worked at WIS, I saw other reporters battle other reporters similar to how they battle, in Anchorman
stations.
a little bit. I've seen people get down and dirty and say mean things to each other. I mean, it's a cutthroat business, but you want to be number one. If you're number one, you can go to the advertisers and say we're number one. That means more money in your paycheck. So you can see how cutthroat it is. Yeah. I knew it was cutthroat. It wasn't really until I got into the industry that I saw just how cutthroat it is. People will always upstage you. Someone is always is next in line, right? Yeah. You're always replaceable. And I think that's also a big misunderstanding in our industry. Most people like to leave in a blaze of glory, and I'm going to leave right now, and the newscast is going to shut down. Right. The newscast will continue with someone else, and that person will be popular as well. There's a movie called Up Close and Personal with Angelina Jolie, and she plays a TV news anchor, and she's trying to get high up on the food chain. It's a romantic comedy. I found that to be very relatable in our industry and just how cutthroat it is. And
interesting.
She has to interview like the Barbara Walters of the industry and how she handles that. So that's a pretty accurate one as well.
Nice. Now you mentioned talk about prompter issues or things like that. How much of your energy is concerned about ever becoming a meme or a blooper or something like that? Because I'll be honest, some of the funniest things online are news bloopers.
Totally agree.
Do you engage in watching those to kind of look out for pitfalls? Or
100%, and I'm sure there are many of those of mine out there. I just was from a generation where YouTube was not as popular then, but I will tell you, there was one where we were in a commercial break and we were doing something with ice skating, and we were going to have the person skate near us and splash up the ice like you see. So she was trying to see how close she can get, and she got too close and knocked me and my guests out. And I'm telling you, we went up like bowling pins and flat down. The photographer was recording just because he was wanting to see what it looked like. And when that happened, we did air that over and over at my TV station. If I can find it still, I'll try to put it maybe on my social media channels. But my daughter and I will watch 20 minutes of bloopers on YouTube and think it's very funny. Yeah. The radio is live. So there's like a written script that we might have like the dates, times, and locations of an event or some talking points. So that one's live. So what you see is what you get. Sometimes I mispronounce someone's name or I get someone's first and last name confused and just, hey, sorry, it's live radio.
Right.
Television, I've learned now that if the prompter goes out in mid-sentence, how to continue talking. Now you might see a stumble or for a second, but you know how to continue and move on. Nice. That's though comes from years and years of practice. The first year into into the industry, I would still go to stories with my questions written out on a notepad and read it like, so tell me, and finish the rest of the sentence. It was just very, it's very green. Sure. And then you become very comfortable where you barely write out questions at all.
That's excellent. Nice.
Let's start at the beginning. Paper filing used to be the only way to send your business tax forms to the IRS. They would inspect each by hand, approving or rejecting. But with so many forms, that way was slow. We needed a change. Then, the IRS joined the digital revolution with the promise that it would simplify forms and instructions. But it was just as confusing as ever. Meet Tax Bandits, the simplest way to file your IRS forms. It allows you to easily fill out forms, review them, transmit them right to the IRS, and send out recipient copies via postal mail or online access. Plus, with direct integration with QuickBooks Online and Xero, and as the exclusive e-file provider for Sage Intacct, whether you're uploading just a few forms or a million forms, Tax Bandits has the solution for you. Tax Bandits, the e-filing solution for every business.
And we're back with Lucas. So you've talked a little bit about your hobbies. You enjoy your working out, fitness. What are some other things that you're into in your personal life?
So I'm a big thrill seeker.
Okay.
So anything where it gets your adrenaline pumping and blood racing. So indoor skydiving, done that, love it. Actually went skydiving, loved that as well. Okay. In fact, when the guy said, "Are you nervous?" I said, "I'm only nervous for the flight, like the taking off." And they said, "No one ever says that. Everyone says the jump." I'm like, "Oh, that's easy." I've done what they call a base jump. When I tell people it, they were like, "Oh my gosh, a base jump!" But it's a jump from the Stratosphere Hotel in Las Vegas. Oh. So it's the one at either end of the strip, and it looks like a Space Needle. I don't know if they still offer it, but a couple years ago you could go and they would put you in a suit and put a cable in the back of the suit, and you would literally jump off like a building. Diving board. Gotcha. Very similar, the length and width of a diving board, and you would just float all the way down. And that one was cool because I got a GoPro picture of that, of me with the entire Las Vegas Strip right at sunset. It is one of my favorite pictures.
That's wild.
That's pretty cool.
So I've rappelled down a real waterfall in North Carolina. It took about 2 hours to do that with a guide. Wow. Whitewater rafting. I go to Carowinds a lot. We're big amusement park nerds. My daughter is, which I'm so glad, at 11. My wife has officially retired from amusement parks. After our last Disney trip, she said, I think I'm done. I'll go and support you and hold everything. So anything with that pushes the envelope, adrenaline is a big thing of mine.
Do you have any bucket list items that you're still looking to achieve on that?
Oh my goodness.
Thrill-seeking list?
There is one I would like to do. It's the bridge in West Virginia. It's
is it a gorge?
Gorge, right? Exactly. They have a base jump, but you have to you have to have years and years. But I would like to do like a bungee jump. And I think they've just introduced zip lining out there, so I would like to do that as well. I also would like to do this, and I saw this on social media, and I said I can't imagine that this does not exist. I would like to go. They were showing video of how flight attendants train. So of course, when you become a flight attendant, you go to a flight attendant school where they train you in all kind of scenarios. They submerge a capsule underwater, and how to navigate through that. I would like to go to like a survival school where they would put you in various scenarios and teach you how to get out and try to see if you can get out. Like if you're in a plane and it goes underwater and the lights are out, how do you get out? You know, if you're ever kidnapped, I mean, it's a morbid thing to think about, but sadly it happens. What would you do? How do you escape? So that kind of stuff.
Sounds like a new reality show. You
that's a good one.
You could produce that at CN2.
Now, speaking of reality shows, now if you can get the producers of Survivor, please pass along this this plea. I have tried out for Survivor for almost every year for 20 years. Oh my God. It's been on the air for 20 years, 43, 44 seasons, sometimes 2 seasons a year. And I don't even get a nibble. And I said, well, maybe I'm just not castable.
That's weird.
But I would love. So Survivor is my ultimate thing. And I don't even. The money would be nice if I last, but I just want to see if you could do it, if you can get along with people, because it's all about strategy. And the line of work I'm in, industry, is all about building alliances, positioning yourself for success. You know, sadly, pitting people against people. I mean, that's just kind of what you do. So I already do that in my day-to-day life. So I'm like, why not go and see if I can do it
what it is?
On an island?
You're too nice.
Really? That's what else someone told me, the same thing.
You're not dramatic enough.
Gosh, but I can be a jerk every now and then.
So what are you submitting? Are you submitting a tape? Or
I've done it all.
Yeah.
I have done everything. I sang my audition tape to that of Gilligan's Island. I've done it shirtless in the woods. I've done it wholesome. Everything you can do.
I think it's got to be like a brawl. Like you're fighting somebody.
I just need to flip off the camera and say, pick me.
Yeah.
But they also cast nice people on that show.
Well, I mean,
But my shtick is always, I look like the guy next door, but I have no problem voting you out or slicing your throat to get ahead. And that might be a little much. I'm actually not slicing someone's throat. So if you can help me get on that.
Sure.
And I grew up watching The Price is Right, so that would be my other big thing in life, is to be on The Price is Right. And I love Bob Barker.
Yeah.
Still to this day. I've got books written about him, and I still to this day watch The Price is Right. So those are 2 of my big bucket lists. One probably is a little more doable than the other. But if someone was listening from Survivor, I'm here and available.
Fantastic. We'll see what we can do about that.
Okay, thank you. I figure you have some pull.
We do.
We'll move on to the lightning round.
Okay.
Here comes the lightning round. Or speed round. Faster round. Anyway, we're going to ask the guest a bunch of quicker questions. Here we go.
Okay, so what's something that you spend way too much money on?
Oh, wow. Fitness equipment.
Yeah.
All kind of fitness equipment. TRX straps, pieces of equipment that will do this and do that. And in the hindsight, when I look at them in my man cave, I'm like, all of these products pretty much do the same thing. I could probably just have a bench, some adjustable barbells, and a TRX strap, and I'm good to go. But definitely probably fitness equipment.
Do you have any examples you're willing to share of something you overspent on?
Oh my gosh. Yes. So I have overspent. It is still in my man cave right now that I have not used once, and I bought it 2 years ago. It's, the dollop weights by Bowflex.
Okay.
They also have dollop weights for a curling bar and a bench press bar. They look great in my man cave. I have not used them once. So I bought them around the time COVID was happening, figuring I would use them during COVID.
Beef up the home gym.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's definitely probably one. But again, one of my favorite pieces of equipment is a TRX strap. I'm not sponsored by TRX, but I absolutely love it because you use your body and you can go anywhere and do anything with it. So
awesome.
You only need that and a couple other pieces, and that's probably it.
Good to go. Nice. And I think you've pretty much answered this next one, but when you were growing up, what was your dream job, and is that still true?
So it's definitely in television, working in television. My dream job was to be, believe it or not, was to be Bob Barker on The Price is Right. I thought that was an actual job that I could apply for. But I think my other fallback job would be probably go into be a dentist or an orthodontist. I had really bad teeth as a kid growing up, really bad. Bad overbite, teeth on top of teeth. It just was, when they show the before and after pictures sometimes of people people, and you're like, wow, I was definitely the before and after picture of folks. And, I think it gave me the confidence, and obviously the line of work that I'm in, your smile is the front door to your face. So I appreciate my parents, for investing in that.
Right.
While they're still expensive, so many of these places do have like payment plans. So they are affordable now to the average person. But I saw what it did to me and my personality, and I was already pretty confident, and then it took me to a whole nother level, and to be able to give other kids and adults that would be pretty remarkable.
Yeah, that's cool.
So you credit your success to your orthodontist.
I sure did. I sure do.
Nice. Who would you say is your role model?
Oh, wow. I know it's so cliche to say, but like my granddad and my dad, they're just strong, hardworking men that they get along with a lot of folks. We were raised in a house, obviously, where you just ask questions. Now, most people might just say, well, that's a stupid question. But in my household, there were never stupid questions, just stupid answers. And if you don't know, you don't know. So they always encouraged us to take risks, have a lot of fun, and not take things too seriously. I mean, again, we work in an industry. We're not saving lives, but I mean, if your story's not in on time, you can get fired. If you get a piece of information wrong, you can get fired. I mean, you walk on such a tight tightrope, and to be able to know and to have the coping skills of laughter, and it's okay. It's all right. I credit to both of them. I know it's cliche, but they're really very inspirational gentlemen that have been in my life.
That's cool. That's awesome. If you had a TV show or movie about your life, what actor would play you?
Oh, easy. Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I almost brought up Nightcrawler earlier.
Oh,
yeah. Because that's like a dark side of all of this, right?
Still very true to our industry in some ways, but it's interesting. So So I kept a journal for all 4 years when I worked in Columbia. So every single day I wrote down what went on, and I was like, well, one day if this is ever turned into a book or to a sitcom, I've got plenty of material, because some things people, I promise you, would never believe happens in a newsroom, and I've got the receipts to say it happens and then some. But I've cast, like, when that, I write a book about just, navigating the broadcast business, TV news, which you don't always see. I call it the most glamorous job, because on the surface it looks glamorous, right? It looks fun, it looks easy, until you get into it. The hours are long. The people are tough. The conditions are rough. I mean, you have to really enjoy it to stay in year after year after year, because the pay is nice. People always want to know about the pay, especially kids. The pay is nice. I mean, obviously I have house and cars and a nice quality of life, but we're not getting paid $18 million like some of the main anchors are getting paid in New York. But so Jake Gyllenhaal would play me. Someone also said Paul Rudd.
Okay, I can see it.
The character I relate to,
he also doesn't age. So
who does not age, and Rob Lowe. So Rob Lowe's character on Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I can see it.
Literally. He is probably the one I've identified the most of that is very true to my personality. And most people who maybe have just met me or are slowly starting to get to know me, they usually will say, have you ever watched Parks and Rec? Do you know Rob Lowe? It's just very similar. He's kind of naive. I'm naive. He's very humble. I'd like to think I'm humble and patient with people. And fitness is a big part of his life. So I'm very I can relate to his character. So Jake Gyllenhaal first, and then Paul Rudd and Rob Lowe, if they're available.
Nice.
You do eat meat, though, right?
I do eat meat, right? Yeah.
Did his character, was he a vegan or something?
He might have been.
I can't recall.
But I do get on my protein kick. So I'm really big that people make sure they eat enough protein, which the average person, whether you're in fitness or not, we don't eat enough protein overall for our diet. But, I found, again, that's a big coping mechanism for myself.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Nice. What's the worst advice you've ever received?
Oh, my gosh. That's a good question. Oh, man, the worst piece of advice I've ever received. I might have been stumped on that. I don't know if it's so much a piece of advice. It's just, you get in this industry and you can go far. You can go far, but you have to have luck. You have to have the right look. You have to have the right features. A lot of your outward appearance really matters a lot more, sadly, than your inner appearance. And when people say, oh, you can go far in this industry, you certainly can. You have to put in a ton of work. And it's for the average person, it's really not that attainable. I mean, there are only so many dark-haired, brown guys that they're going to have on the Today Show, Good Morning America, the big networks that people go to, SportsCenter. They're not going to have 7 guys that look like Lucas McFadden sitting around a table. They're just not. And it's great. That should reflect, the folks that give you your news should reflect where you live. So, I think that is it. I always tell folks, you can go as far as you want to go. And at a certain point, consultants and agents will carry you the rest of the way, sadly. Gotcha. But it's just, the nature of the beast.
Nice. This might be similar. What's something in your industry that you consider underrated?
I think every reporter is probably not appreciated enough for their jobs. I mean, we're responsible for bringing story ideas to the table. And if you didn't like homework when you were in school, then don't go in this industry, because you're constantly absorbing information all the time, and you have to be able to articulate a story idea, and hopefully the person that you need to interview is also willing to be on camera. There are a lot of folks in our listening area that have no problems talking, and there are people that have the talent and the skills and the knowledge. They just don't want to go on because they don't like the way they look or the way they sound. And I always say, but your information is so more valuable. You got to get over that. You can't, you're withholding information that can help people based on how afraid you might come across when you look and how you sound. And I can honestly tell you, most people are very forgiving. Most people are very forgiving, and they understand. Unless you go to school for it, most people are a little green, and they have more patience with you than you actually think, for sure.
That's cool.
But getting people to talk is so difficult.
Yeah.
It is so, it's not like, sadly, the redneck that you go to interview after a tornado came through. Those folks do exist, and sometimes they do seek us out, but the amount of folks that they have to work and the hours they keep. And now with the addition of social media and the web, it's not like we have our own team that handles that. We get through with the story, writing it, editing it. Then you get no break, and you have to redo it all over for the demands of social media, and then do it on the demands of a website. It's just a juggernaut. You're working holidays. You're on call. It's just never ending. So they're really the unsung heroes. So just be patient on them, especially the ones that are asking for an interview. Just give them a solid. You're also only going to make 30 seconds, 40 seconds of the whole interview. Trim out a ton of stuff. And let me tell you, editing is everyone's best friend, present company included. And y'all know this too.
I do. I'm
sure you have made many people sound much better than their actual interview. But editing is great, and that's perfect. There's nothing wrong with editing. If you can do it and make it come across clean and great, why not?
Right. Absolutely. All right, 2 more. What's one thing outside of what you already do that you'd love to be an expert at?
Oh my gosh, shooting. Like skeet shooting.
Okay.
I'd like to be an expert there, or in golf. I know how to do both, not very well, but I would like to be an expert in both of them.
Gotcha.
Nice. And then if you could meet anyone, past or present, who would it be?
Okay, besides Jesus Christ, which I feel like is always the standard, Mark Wahlberg.
Okay. All right. Well, that one's attainable.
I know. I'm a big Marky Mark fan. A couple of reasons why. I grew up in the era that he is in. He's got a good backstory. Obviously, he did something in his younger days that was not very nice to someone else. He went to prison, did his time, and turned his life around, and has really made every effort to be a good human being. I think he's navigated the landscape of Hollywood very well. I don't think he bows down to the industry, so to speak. He goes he what's the drum of his own beat of his own drum. He's very physically fit, like fitness forward, and I really appreciate that. I like how he does not get involved in politics. He's asked over and over again. He said, I'm an actor. I am not in politics. No one cares what I have to say. Carrie Underwood and Dolly Parton has said that as well. Now I might be showing my age a little bit, but I do like I don't want to know people's political opinion or their social movement opinion. I feel like it divides people now more than ever, but I feel like he's just a good dad, a good husband, and very relatable. Everyone who knows me always just thinks like it's a little obsessed, but he has his 4 a.m. exercise club. And I've said before, I would love just to be able to go and just talk to him and exercise with him. But I just find him very relatable to be as big of a movie star as he is.
That's cool.
But they always say never meet your idols because if you do, they disappoint you. So I think there's
you
that.
Catch him on a bad day.
Yeah, but I also find people that are everyday people, I find way more exciting than any celebrity. I've interviewed a ton of celebrities over 22 years. I've interviewed George Clooney and Renee Zellweger when they made the movie Leatherheads.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
They made it all in the Carolinas.
Yeah.
When they were promoting the film, they came to Greenville, South Carolina. And I was able to interview them. It was a very small room, a little bigger than this room, with like 5 journalists to 10 journalists from newspaper and television. And we were selected. And so I got to go. They were extremely humble, very nice, just down to earth folks. And those are really well-known Oscar winners. I found them to be extremely nice, but I have interviewed other celebrities. They are mean. They're not approachable. They don't want to talk about anything. They really can't form a sentence. And I'm like, why do we care about you? But I find the people that defy the odds, people that have beat cancer, a kid that is trying for a bucket list and then achieves it. Those, in my opinion, are people that are just remarkable. People who have survived the Miracle on the Hudson. Christy Spears, who's a board member for the Fort Mill School Board, was on that flight.
Oh, wow.
And I talk to her almost every year on that, and I've on the anniversary, and I find it to be fascinating what they went through, what was going through them. Those people, I would rather interview hands down. Give me Christy versus Carrie Underwood, Dolly Parton, and Mark Wahlberg any day. If I had the option, I would go. I just find them more relatable. They're humble, and they've got a very inspirational story to tell.
Very cool. Awesome.
Fantastic. Well, we appreciate you stopping by. We got a little picture here on the wall. Just to get your take on it. So it's a building that does not exist right now.
It's gone now.
It's gone completely.
Yeah.
The old Panthers training facility. We ask a lot of our guests there to any thoughts they may have on that whole situation.
Sure. What's called the Hutchinson property now. That's what they like how to call it. It's completely level. A couple of things. Representative Tommy Pope said it best. We went from honeymoon to divorce in less than a year. And I think that is very true. It was, like everyone else, I had such high hopes. It was gonna, they compared it to what is called the Star for the Dallas Cowboys,
right.
and I've seen what that piece of property has done for Frisco, Texas, and if that is similar to what was going to happen here, like wow, like it was not going to be the Rock Hill that we knew,
right.
hopefully for the better. But, I'm also in the industry where like nothing is a done deal until the building is built and the team is practicing. Right. The hardest thing with this is covering it for the last year. It was absolutely miserable to cover because no one wanted to talk. No one would give an interview. And only thing that the Tepper organization, the city of Rock Hill, and York County would do is they would all issue statements, or they would send us the lawsuit. Well, that's legal jargon. We don't have that. So it would take us all day to absorb the information. Then we had 20 more questions, and so if we brought them to the agency, they were under a gaggle of not to talk, and they were afraid it would jeopardize anything. So they wouldn't give us any information. So we were kind of left alone on an island by ourselves. See, I'm always trying to get Survivor in there too. But we're left alone to kind of piece together stuff. And I know people got frustrated with us, us being those in the media. But like there were things happening. People wanted to know. And we couldn't do anything. Like it was just very, very frustrating. I think that was the hardest part in the last year that I found was so challenging as a journalist, because we had questions. We know people had the answers, but no one would talk. No one would talk. We asked for every document. We went through every legal way that we can get documents. It just got us nowhere.
Yeah, frustrating is a pretty good way to describe that, because early on you just kind of got what Tepper was putting out there. And then the city of Rock Hill was being very measured in their response and kind of being like, oh, we're upholding our part of it. We're upholding our part of it. But
But
you can only say so much through that sort of legal jargon.
But I'm an optimist. I'm always a glass half full kind of guy, and I know bigger and better things are on the horizon. I think our city leadership know that people want something big, and they're taking their time, which again, in today's time, we don't have patience, but all things will work out just fine. But it's a good looking building. I just wish I would have seen it come to light, but shoulda, woulda, coulda all day long.
Right. I think your friend Manning said it something similar, where it said, I think Rock Hill's going to end up better for it.
Totally.
Like I think we're going to get something better. I don't know what it is right now, but we gave away everything to them to make that thing happen, and still wasn't good enough apparently. So
when God closes a door, just open it back up. That's how doors work, right? So that's what happens. So the door might have been closed on that project, but we'll just open it back up, and somebody else will see the value that we have to offer.
Be somebody else behind that door.
The state of South Carolina, and including the folks that live here.
Sounds good.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for dropping by, Lucas.
Yeah, y'all are rock stars. I appreciate it.
Final thoughts?
I don't think so. First of all, I appreciate you all. I love podcasts. I think they're great, and appreciate the setup that you all do, especially here with Span Enterprises. Y'all are a big part of our city's DNA. Really support local media. I mean, it's great. It's job security, but folks work really hard to bring you news that matter, especially in our part of the state. York, Lancaster, and Chester counties, we get overshadowed by Charlotte and overshadowed by Columbia, Greenville, Spartanburg in this area. But we have a lot of news that happens here, and we're very proud of the job we do on radio and television. And, these are the folks you go to school with, you went to school with, maybe, you go to church with, you work with. And, we're just out there trying to tell the stories of our community the best that we can.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing it.
No problem.
You have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Stick around next week and see what we talk about on the Bandit Room.
The Bandit Room is a production of Span Enterprises, located in sunny Rock Hill, South Carolina. We've been developing, supporting, and growing successful IRS e-filing and business management solutions since 2010. Go to spanenterprises.com now to learn more. The views and opinions expressed in the Bandit Room are those of the guests, and do not necessarily reflect or state the opinions of Span Enterprises. No information should be considered as tax, legal, or other professional advice.